Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I've got a couple guests with us today who I'll be bringing on in just a moment. This is one of those kind of challenging schedule episodes because they live in Australia. I'm here in the middle of the US in the Eastern time zone. So I had to stay up kind of late and they had to carve out some time in the middle of their otherwise very busy day, but we figured it out and you're going to be so glad that you joined us for today's episode. You're getting ready to meet Beau and Kerry Hodges. They are doing a tremendous job. They only started a few short months ago with us as coaching students. Well, they started off with the proven Amazon course at first, and then very quickly decided to become coaching students. In the middle of having a young baby in their home and figuring out the new schedule with mom being home full time and dad still has a full time job, they've managed to squeeze into their life a beautiful business that's producing tremendous results that they're going to tell us all about today. I think they're emerging leaders in our community, and you kind of get a hint of that towards the end of the episode today and where things might be heading with these guys, because they really are firing on all cylinders, doing things the right way. They've implemented a lot of the tools and strategies that you hear us talk about around here. They've hired some virtual assistants, for example, from the proven REPLENS VA program. There's a link to all of this in the show notes, but proven REPLENS VA, as in virtual assistant. That's one of the virtual assistants that we found and trained and then tested and made sure that they were ready to go. And then they were hired by our guests today. They've actually hired two of them now. That's how excited they are about the progress that they're making. They found a couple hundred profitable products that they're selling. They're getting a great profit margin on their sales. They've really built a beautiful business. Like I mentioned, they're coaching students in our program as well. They have very high things to say, very kind things to say about that program. It's helped them get where they are very quickly. They didn't start with us until, like I mentioned, just a few short months ago. So within the first 3 months, was it September? Yeah, within 3 or 4 months, they had their first $20,000 month. And then the following month, they did the same thing again. So they really started off taking this business seriously, learning what they had to learn, going all in with the stuff that we teach, and they're building something beautiful from Australia. I think it needs to be emphasized that these guys don't have the advantages that so many of us have living in the United States. They had to set up a US-based entity to do this. This is something our team can help you with. We have a website, humminbird.com. I'll stick a link in the show notes, but that's spelled HUMNBIRD.com. We can help you set up a US-based entity so that you can buy and sell in the US, like you've heard so many of our successful students doing. So once they navigated all of that, which took some time to get set up, they have the same advantages that someone who lives in the United States would have when it comes to buying and selling on Amazon.com. Now, if you're not familiar with why we always emphasize selling in the US, if at all possible, it's because with the exception of the UK and Canada, which are still significantly smaller and more difficult, in my opinion, to build a REPLENS business, with the exception of those two countries, there's nowhere else in the world, even if Amazon has a presence, which Amazon is in Australia, but it's not big enough. It's not robust enough to justify them selling on that platform yet. Maybe someday, not now. That's why they're selling in the United States today. We've got a training module inside the Proven Amazon course that walks any international seller through the process of getting set up in the US. You can use our legal services if you need to at humminbird.com, like I mentioned. Again, there's a link in the show notes for that. And get set up selling using a prep center. So here's what they do, and you'll hear them describe this today. But if you're not familiar with how it works, they get online. Kerry gets online with a few spare hours per week that she has to build her business, and she shops, or she has her virtual assistant shop in the United States looking for good replens. When she finds them, she doesn't have them shipped to Australia. She uses a prep center from our prep center network. prepcenternetwork.com is the website. It's a free service that we set up for our community. They're using one of those prep centers. So she orders online. Her products go to the prep center. The prep center prepares them for her, sends them to Amazon, and Beau and Kerry get paid as their products sell. That's the basic process. You've heard hundreds of episodes of this podcast now where we've talked to our students who are doing that exact model with great success all over the world. What are you waiting on? We've never been more excited about this opportunity. it's in its infancy, in my opinion. I get asked sometimes, Jim, you guys have been teaching this for a few years now. Is this getting saturated? No, Amazon's marketplace is growing more rapidly than there are people jumping in, grasping this concept and tackling this business. There are literally millions of underserved ASINs on Amazon right now. Underserved listings is another way to say that right now, just on Amazon.com in the US, that you could jump alongside the other sellers who are already selling those products, source your products either from retail or online or wholesalers, jump in there and sell products just like you're going to hear our guests today describe. Well, I think that's a good description of our episode. Checking over my notes, they do talk a little bit about a tool called tactical arbitrage today, online sourcing strategies. We've got a module inside the Proven Amazon course, which is the only course you will ever need. Everything goes into the Proven Amazon course. That module is called OAS, or oasimplified.com. That's the website where you can go and see more about it. That's one of the initial concepts that really inspired our guests today, because they heard the inventor of that course. We had Leah and Jessica, two great coaches on our team. They put that course together. Well, when they heard them talking about their business, how they were selling 6 figures a month without ever having any products shipped to their home, never touching the boxes or the tape, and never prepping any of their shipments, selling 6 figures a month on Amazon, they were interested. You can do that internationally. So that course, oasimplified.com, yes, it's a standalone course, but it's included in the Proven Amazon course. That's one of the modules that they took initially, our guests today, to help them understand online arbitrage and how to use a tool called tactical arbitrage. We'll stick links to all of that in the show notes so you don't have to remember or write any of that down. But as you're listening to the story today, I just wanted to prepare you for some of the things that we're going to talk about. All right, that's a long introduction, but I truly had a blast hanging out with my new friends. You're going to see and hear from them again in the future, I'm sure, because they are on a tremendous trajectory. So with that introduction, let's get over and meet Beau and Kerry right now. So welcome to the show, guys. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
It's truly a pleasure. You guys are in Australia. I'm here in the US. Quite a time difference. We finally figured it out. I'm so proud of us. But let's start with you, Beau. What do you say? Let's get into your story.
Yeah, so probably how I discovered e-commerce about 3 or 4 years ago. I was working in business in finance and was really interested in e-commerce as an opportunity to have a bit of a side hustle and try and build something while I was doing my day job. And so I kind of looked and researched in that area and actually kind of started to look into private label and kind of down that route, not having too much exposure to any other real systems. So when we were kind of looking through that, had gone down that journey a little bit, and it was probably just before COVID that we were going to pull the trigger on ordering some products from China and sending it across, and COVID hit and the world kind of ended. And
then we had a baby.
Yeah, and then we had a baby just after that. So it kind of all got kind of put on the back burner in terms of that was so much effort and so many complicated bits of importing, and it was aiming to sell in America. So it was a lot of different things happening. And then, we had Bub, and time got the limited time got even more limited. But when we had Bub, how I kind of came to learn about yourself and the community was through podcasts. So I'd to and from work and spare time, I'd just be listening to podcasts. And then I don't know how I found yours, but I then found it and thought this system seemed less moving parts in terms of, and less dependent on one great product, and being able to say, hey, this is something that is seems a bit more sustainable. It's easy to get into and kind of test and then grow. So yeah, it was about 1.5 years before I then had a chat to Kerry and said, hey, what do you think about this? I've done some research, lots of podcasts. What do you think about it? So it was a bit of a process, but we kind of got there, found an opportunity that kind of fitted what we might want to do.
That is such a common theme among so many of our students who have started to get some momentum. They're seeing some success, is they almost did private label. And it sounds like you found this at a good time. Maybe you heard one of my rants about private label or something, because I'd like to go off on my, like, please don't do it if you're new, right?
Yeah.
We've seen so many heartache stories. And it sounds like things kind of aligned to save you from going down that road. Not that you can't eventually, and I would love to see you do it. You've earned the right to start to explore in that arena now. With I know some about your business, so now's the time to start talking about it. You understand the basics. You're putting some money in the bank. You've proven that you understand the platform. So that's great. But starting there, 95% of the time, it's tragic. And I talk about that all the time on this show. I'm not going to do it right now. But yeah, I'm glad we could help kind of steer you onto a more stable ground as you were starting, especially with a young family. And now, are you still working, Beau? You still have your...
Yeah, so I'm a full-time job. So it's pretty, big hours and kind of in IT sector. And that was probably one of the other motivations is when we were having Bub Kerry's on bed rest for a period up until Bub. And I thought, well, if we're going to look to have children and have a flexible job, a more flexible job for Kerry, that was kind of a motivation to say, hey, this could be something that we can do within like mummy hours and around the kids.
Yeah. So Kerry, tell me about your family and anything that Beau's left out so far to get us up to speed.
Yeah, so for us, we've got two little ones. We've got our son, he just turned 4 yesterday, and then our daughter, she's turning 3 13 months after that. So we've been kept quite busy the last couple of years. So for me, it was about trying to create something that was more family friendly. My previous job before pregnancy, I was unfortunately made redundant while I was on bed rest during my first pregnancy. So for us, it was about trying to find something that we could work around the kids more, and just something more family friendly. So, and
before we were cut off, you were talking about your career, just a little bit of health, nutrition related, and that's kind of where we got cut off. So let's make sure we get that in there.
So before having kids, I was a naturopath. So in Australia, that's, I guess, herbal medicine, nutrition, combination of the both, treating all kinds of, conditions. I actually focused my time on training. So I would actually train the pharmacy staff on supplements and how they can incorporate that within their patients and their conditions. So that was my role. Yeah, prior to
I can see you getting back to that at some point too. Is that kind of a passion of yours?
Like it is. I definitely have a
Just
passion
from like an e-commerce standpoint, an expertise, you can create the content and, grow a community, grow an audience. I love that kind of stuff. We start off all of our students, unless they come to us with other needs, selling on Amazon. Yeah. But something that's near and dear to my heart, Kerry, is just helping thought leaders and content creators, spread their word, grow a community, serve that community well. That's what I've been trying to do and learning a lot about for 20 years. So at some point, I can see that kind of coming back around as something you've put a lot of time and energy into. So, who knows? Is that on your radar? As a possibility? Is that on your radar as a possibility for someday?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, like we'll definitely see how it goes. I think that industry is changing so much, and I've seen so much change in the nearly 20 years that I've been a part of it as well. So a lot of it is going online, and Instagram and all of that, plays a big part in things these days as well. So it's
well, who knows? If you start to lean in that direction, there's certainly a good number of people in our community who have done those kind of things, because the theme of this community is using the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple income streams. There's a lot of things that can be done and fall into that descriptor, right? So, but we love Amazon. This is a primarily Amazon related interview and episode today. So let's, we'll hang with that. But this gives us a little idea of who we're dealing with here. And you guys are doing some great stuff, and I'm excited to get into the rest of the story. So who's taking it from here? You've at this point, you considered private label, you got into our community, you started doing some proven Amazon course stuff. You had some young kids in the house that slowed down your progress a little bit, understandably so. But then what happened after that?
So when we started, probably January 22 was when I started doing the training, kind of doing all the pack courses and getting a bit of an understanding. And then we pulled the trigger for coaching in March 22 because of that process. Yeah, because we thought that we can kind of do this and learn the hard way and it take a lot longer, or we can invest in the coaching and hopefully it'll help us speed up the process, especially being outside of the US. And I think it was before Joseph's international AZ course came out.
That's right. Yeah. Let me explain what that is, not to interrupt you, Beau, but some people may not know what you're talking about there. Joseph Biz lives in Slovakia. There's no Amazon in Slovakia. He's one of the great coaches on our team, and he put together a course just for our international students. You guys are in Australia. Anyone outside of the United States we consider to be one of our international students. And there's just certain things they have to go through. You guys went through that before the course was out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you guys were right on the cusp. You're about a year. You guys have been with us about a year now, right? So that would have come out a little less than a year ago, Joseph's course. Yeah. So you guys would have seen that come out shortly after you guys began. But yeah, you're going to dive into that.
Yeah, and the timing worked out pretty well because we just started, I think, had our first kind of session, and then the course came out. So that really helped us fast track those steps, because all the like setting up an LLC and prep centers and all the things that we had to tick boxes to be able to sell on Amazon in the United States, that course laid out pretty clearly. So then when we were kind of doing the coaching, it fitted in, and that's probably why from us starting coaching in March, we had our first sale in July, but everything took a little bit of time, and then probably September is when we like really started to kind of have everything in place to sell properly. Before that, it was on personal cards and personal accounts, not
whatever I could get on PayPal or you know our Australian bank cards, which wasn't that many, but I got to know the sites that allowed me.
Right, some unique challenges. I'm always excited to interview non-US based students who have figured it out and they're starting to have some success, because anyone who lives in the United States, there's just so far fewer challenges that we have to make this work. And you guys are figuring it out. You're doing it. So congratulations. And like you mentioned, there's websites that'll say, hey, you're on Australia. You can't order products from our website. Buy products in the US and have them shipped to a US based address. They don't even take your credit card, right? That's the kind of stuff that we help you navigate in that international AZ course. And you guys have obviously figured out quite a bit of that at this point.
Yeah. And I think that was where we, when we started the coaching, we had to kind of get all these things in to a couple of months just to kind of move through the process and get a card in America and to lower the barriers. Because what we found early on is Kerry would go on to try and buy things and would get thrown out, or the orders wouldn't go through. And it was like a lot of effort for not a lot of outcome. So we were quickly trying to sort that out. And then the coaching started in real earnest with Robert and Brian, who have been great for us as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, two of the great coaching leaders on our team. You guys really have some of the best there. So
very
that's
lucky.
Awesome. Yeah. They're such a blessing to so many of us around here. So we've got such incredible coaches. I'm so proud of this team. But they're the ones who sent me your name actually and said, hey, you've got to get a hold of our friends in Australia here. These guys are awesome. So thank you for doing this again. But yeah, let's keep your story going wherever you want to go from here.
Yeah, so I think that's when, like with some of the setup stuff, I was like more heavily involved in that. And then when I got the coaching and then sourcing, then Kerry's kind of taken over and really kind of like run with that. And I try and kind of now work a little bit on the edge on the systems and seeing what technology's there. So I can kind of throw over to Kerry to.
So with sourcing, I think it was my first week doing keeper sourcing that I would put my hands up in the air and I said, I don't know how I can do this. So we quickly signed up for TA, Tactical Arbitrage. I think within the first week of trying just keeper sourcing for me, I just didn't have a knack for it. I think Leah's podcast might have just come out around that time. So there was a lot of inspiration there about, just get in and get it done. And yeah, I think TA really helped us with sourcing. And so for me, so I did all my sourcing through TA. We then, at the very end of August, we got our first VA through the Proven VA.
Oh, you used the PRV, Proven REPLENS VA. I'll stick links to all of this in the show notes for anyone who doesn't know some of the stuff we're talking about today, rather than me explaining everything right now. But that's great. I didn't realize that. So you guys have a VA as well.
Yeah. So we had our chat with Kyle, and I think he said at the time that we might have been the first Australians to get a VA.
Yep.
Worked in our favour great because the time difference is only 2 hours. So
right. I hadn't thought of that. Right.
Yeah.
That's great. So the Philippines are in a very similar time zone for you guys. That's right.
Yeah. So really good for communication for myself and our VA, you know, if there's something urgent that I come across, she can just jump straight on it, and vice versa. So that's been really good.
Yeah, and I think that with the TA and kind of going through that process, the OA Simplified course, again, was something that Kerry was going through that as it was kind of dropping, I think, through Facebook, and now it's part of PAC. And we kind of tied that in with the advanced keeper stuff that Brian and Robert do. So it's kind of that advanced keeper into TA. And I guess some of those reasons for us kind of doing that process is to try and get more output with less kind of time. So for Kerry to kind of go through every line item with kids, it's a bit challenging, but to be able to use some software and some tools. And then that's why we jumped over to the VA pretty quickly as well, to try and leverage the time, because with a couple of young kids, it's not a ton of hours in the day to be juggling with the Amazons.
You've been forced to be as efficient as possible with the challenges you have being from another country and a young family and limited hours, and you're still working full time, Beau. So you guys have really made a lot of progress very quickly. And it sounds like you've really jumped in with both feet as well.
Yeah, we really do.
Yeah, and it was interesting because at each step, Kerry's like, "Oh, are we at that stage to say a VA?" And I said, "Well, if we kind of get to the stage where we need a VA, we might burn out because we're doing all the hours that they can help us with. We might get burnt out. So we've tried to do a few things probably earlier than some people might, just because Kerry might not love me too much if she was having to do it all by herself for 6 months."
Yeah. Not enough time in the day to do it all, to make the progress you guys wanted to make. So congratulations. Well done. Let me just fill in a couple gaps for the listeners. And again, everything's in the show notes, the links near this video or audio. You can see what we're talking about. But you mentioned the PRV, provenreplensva.com. That's where people can go to get information about that. We have $4 an hour virtual assistants that we've found, vetted, hired, trained, and tested. And once they're ready, we sign them to work with one student or one client. In this case, it was you guys, and they find REPLENS for you. That's what they do. And I want to get into how it's going here in just a moment to hear more about that. You also mentioned the tactical arbitrage training, OA simplified course. That's one of the modules inside the Proven Amazon course now. You talked about the interview with Leah. Tremendous interview. She's a mom who works a few hours a week on her business, does about 6 figures a month in sales, and it's all online sourcing. All the product is sent to another place, to a prep center, not to her house. So she could live in Australia if she wanted to. You guys do. So that's the appeal there, is all your sourcing is done online. You can't go to a retail store and send it into Amazon US. Doesn't make sense to ship it. And just for those who don't know as well, you guys, I'm sure, have kind of figured this out and factored this in, Beau and Kerry, but Amazon does exist in Australia, but it's not quite there yet, where there's enough volume and enough buying activity to justify jumping in there. Most of our Australian-based students are buying and selling in the US, as are nearly all of our international students. We set them up to buy and sell in the US. And it sounds like you guys navigated that and got it figured out. So well done. Any feedback on any of the things I just said, or any clarifications? Just trying to keep the listeners up to speed as we go here as well.
No, that's good. Yeah, that kind of gets a bit of a snapshot of us. Like, we've been able to leverage everything to say, well, other people have kind of gone through these challenges and how they've overcome it. So the community has been good for the coaching and then the courses as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, let's get into your business and any challenges you've run into, any questions you have for me. Where do you want to go? Again, it's up to you where this goes, and being respectful of your time as well.
So I think, for our business, like we said, we started off very slow, being that we didn't really have our first sale until September. When we started, I didn't even think to check the app every day to see if we had a sale. I was like, oh, it's not going to work. So September was our first, I guess, proper month. And then what was it?
So I think we went from kind of almost doubled from September, October, November, and then in December, obviously the bigger Q4 hit about 20,000 US, which was for us really exciting. And then we hit 20,000 in January as well, which was nice when you hear that it kind of drops off, even though REPLENS maybe not so much. It was nice to kind of get that consistency.
Yeah, that's tremendous, because here we are in February, middle of February of 2023. So just about 4 months in, you guys hit 20,000 in sales.
Yes.
Repeated it again the following month, which is last month as we're recording this. And here we are in February. How's your February going so far?
Yeah, we're actually up a bit.
Yeah, we're up a bit. So we'll probably just get over maybe 21, 22,000, depending on kind of where everything lands the next, 14, 15 days.
Yeah, that's fantastic, guys. How's the net margins looking?
So where gross margin for us is about 19 to 20%. So after kind of all the subscriptions and VAs, it's around like 15%. So for us, we actually have a second VA that we've just hired as well. So we're kind of, our expenses are probably more in terms of some of those subscriptions and VAs, but we can live with the 15% at the moment.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I mean, $3,000 net income basically for a business you guys started a few months ago.
Yeah.
That's tremendous. You guys are doing really, really well with it. We love to hear these kind of stories. They inspire me. They inspire other students. And if you guys can do this from Australia with a young family and dad's still working full time, hey, maybe others can do this too. So I love hearing these kind of stories. This is great. So what challenges are you guys running into, or what other parts of your story would you like to dive into? Just, the microphone continues to be yours.
My challenges, I think the biggest challenges, which I feel like we've navigated through them. I've got certain sites will take certain VPNs and certain card numbers and all of those kind of things. So I've definitely worked that out. I've got a long list growing of sites that won't accept me. And then I just share that with the VAs so they just know not to waste their time, but if they can source it somewhere else, great. That was probably the biggest challenge that we came up against. I'm probably, with my buying, still try to stay under the radar. So I'll still do smaller units. I won't do large units because I don't know what's going to flag up, on the other end.
Hey, we'll get back to the podcast episode in just a couple moments, but I want to tell you about the Proven Conference. Get over to theprovenconference.com. We're going to be gathering in Columbus, Ohio, July 6th through 8th, 2023. We want you to be there. Hundreds of listeners to this podcast will be there. This is the 11th time that we've done this event. It just keeps getting better every year. If you're brand new, you're going to love this event. If you've been around a while, this is a chance to gather with those great friends that you've come to love from this community. Here's some things we've never done before that you're going to absolutely love about this year's event. Not only is it one of the best room rates we've ever seen, $139 a night for an incredibly beautiful hotel that normally costs $200 per night more than the rate we were able to negotiate. Because the group has grown so large, we're negotiating some great room rates. It's in a beautiful city. Again, theprovenconference.com has details. Here's some of the training sessions that we're going to offer. Of the 40 sessions we're going to do, the breakout sessions, here's some of them that you've never seen before. These ideas should get you excited. You're going to love 2 or 3 of these. Check this out. First, we're going to have a buy and hold product for Amazon sellers. It's a product that any of us can easily go buy, hold it for a period of time. It goes up in value very consistently. We're going to teach you how many members of our community are successfully using that buy and hold strategy with some beautiful inventory that's going to blow you away. Any of us can do this. We're going to tell you how to set up a physical location to sell some of your excess inventory. We're going to teach you the basics of setting up a storefront. People walk in, buy your inventory, make it very profitable, how to manage it. We've got sellers doing very successfully with it. They're going to teach us how they're doing what they do. We've got a brand new bot strategy for online sourcing, using bots to source profitable inventory online for your REPLENS business. This has never been taught anywhere before. No other course, content, or tool out there does what we're going to show you. You're going to absolutely love learning that. You're going to be exposed to a print-on-demand strategy that many sellers in our community are using with great success right now on a very inexpensive product, very easy to test. For a few $100s, you can test run this concept. And every once in a while, each one of these tests is going to turn into a beautiful opportunity for you. We're going to talk you through how to test small and how to find these beautiful print-on-demand winning products so you can have private label products in your lineup. We're going to teach that at the event. Finally, we're going to talk to you about how to set up a prep center. If you want to attend that breakout session, we need prep centers. All of our international students rely heavily on prep centers. We've got a lot of sellers in our community. They don't want their inventory showing up on their front steps. They want to send it to a prep center. We need more quality prep centers. We're going to train you how to do it. Maybe you take on a handful of clients, provide a valuable service. It's another stream of income. That's just a handful of the more than 40 great breakout sessions we're going to have at this event. And don't worry, if you can't attend all of them, if you get stuck in the hallway talking to friends, that's fine. We're recording professionally all these sessions. You get them all for free as a registered attendee. Even if you can't come, it makes sense to buy registration just so you can get all those videos for free after the event is over. We've got lower registration prices than we had last year. You'd think with inflation, the price of everything's going up. Not so. We're dropping our prices. Get over to theprovenconference.com. See the great prices on this event. You're going to want to be there. Finally, let's talk about the VIP option. You can read this on the sales page, theprovenconference.com. But if you sign up to be a VIP at this event, there's some really cool things you get that we've never done before. We're going to put you into a mastermind group. It's optional, of course. You don't have to do this. But if you want to be part of a mastermind group and hang out with other VIPs who are trying to form a mastermind, we're going to form you into small groups that meet actually at the event and then continue to meet after the event is over on a regular basis. It's optional, but it's a great benefit of doing the VIP option. Lunches are provided on site for a couple of the days that you're there as a VIP. You'll want to take advantage of that. Very great lunches, very conveniently located, meeting with the great coaches and leaders from our team for a nice extended lunch period in a private room. You're going to absolutely want to take advantage of that as a VIP. And of course, as always, early room entry every day so you get the best seats in the house. So VIP is a great investment if you want to get the most out of this event. We do expect VIP to sell out, so don't wait if that's something you're considering. Hey, let's get back to today's podcast episode. But remember, when you're done listening, get over to theprovenconference.com for all details. July 6th through 8th, 2023. We will see you in Columbus, Ohio. Back to the podcast.
That was probably the biggest challenge that we came up against. I'm probably, with my buying, still try to stay under the radar. So I'll still do smaller units. I won't do large units because I don't know what's going to flag up, on the other end.
Right. Like if you order quantity 50 of an item, they might say, wait, we think you might be a reseller. We don't want to sell you 50. But if you order 10 at a time, you're okay. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest challenge that we've come across, is just kind of navigating where we can find our feet. And then the other thing that we're probably aware of more now is that a lot of our replens are actually purchased through sales. So I love a good sale. And I think after doing the tactical arbitrage course, I was able to really implement tactical arbitrage as well as tactical expander, and then utilize that for a lot of sales shopping. So, which is great. Really good margins and things like that. But obviously the replen model isn't there for some of those units as often as we need them to be. So that's probably our biggest, I guess, challenge. But I feel like we're aware of it and we're trying to shift the needle and trying to find more sustainable products, to put on our replen list at the moment.
Items that you can order over and over again as you need them instead of having to wait for the sales cycle. But there are many sellers in our community. It's somewhat complex, but you guys aren't afraid of complex, obviously. Just the sales cycles of like every 3 months, everything on this website and this category goes on sale. And you learn those cycles and you kind of come back and stock up during the sales. There's no reason not to do it that way. You just have to be aware of it and know we can't source this again for 3 or 4 months, however long those cycles are. But almost all the websites, have you started to notice yet? You haven't been doing this too long, but you will notice there's a predictable sales cycle on most websites.
I feel like I can spot it through Keeper. Through Keeper charts, through, the amount of sellers will really bump up. That's when I can kind of get a groove of when the sales are going to hit for a lot of, especially with the health, the beauty category. That's predominantly where we started. That was just kind of a passion for me, and I kind of knew it. So we started there, and we were 90% in beauty for the first couple of months, I suppose. So I could definitely spot, the cycles happening there. So I feel like I'm ready this year and I can jump on board when they do hit.
That's awesome. Well, what are you guys thinking for 2023? You've set any goals?
Yeah, for us, like obviously we've hit a 20 grand a month for a couple of months. I think we'd like to get to that kind of 60 grand a month is like the next kind of target for us. And we know that like what we probably need to tweak in some like bit less sales focused and start to get a bit more of like the more standard REPLENS as part of the mix. But we're also looking at like wholesale and bundles to kind of go, how do we kind of complement the business and de-risk it? So there's different types of REPLENS. But our next kind of goal is 60 grand a month. And hopefully if we can kind of hit that in the next like 6 months, that'll kind of set us up pretty well.
Yeah. And that's a very reasonable goal, especially the way you guys just seem to naturally tackle problems. If you need a coach, you get a coach. If you need a VA, you get a VA. You buy a tool and you do what you have to do. That's the trajectory I see you guys on. Very achievable to have a $50,000-$60,000 months, by this summer, and then making that a regular occurrence by the end of the year. With a November, December, maybe something bigger than that. Even that's the trajectory that you guys are on. So very exciting. Yeah, I can't wait to see where you guys end up soon.
Thank you.
Yeah. What any other things that you want to go into about your business, or any questions for me? I got a couple other questions I want to run past you, but you guys are just doing a great job describing the realities of this business. And how much time? Here's a good question I wouldn't mind hearing: is how much time are you putting into it now? Like, what is the time commitment for this business for the two of you?
I probably put in too much time for what my body could handle. I would get up about an hour and a half before the kids would wake up in the morning. So I do about an hour and a half. We're very lucky that they still sleep for 2 hours during the day. So I would do 2 hours then. And then most nights I would then do the VA kind of assessments of their fines and everything. So that was most days was about 4 hours. And then the days that they were at daycare, I would be able to do a full day of work. So with onboarding the second VA as of last month, we're trying to get a bit more balance. So I'm trying to step away from tactical arbitrage and that kind of sourcing and just doing the reviews of their finds, but also, I'll still find leads from their finds as well. So but I'm trying to upskill them. So I'll do a little video on, how I've found this product from their findings. So I'm trying to make them aware of as much as I can. To make them do all the finding.
Make them more self-sufficient and just rely.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can tell you this, as a guy who's had a great sourcing team for a long time, I can easily get sucked in for an hour or two anytime. That's so fun. Finding REPLENS and bunny trailing off of the stuff you're already selling. And I can look through a list of like, let's look at all the stuff that we sold today. And I can go just do some research and find multiple new REPLENS based on the stuff that's working well right now, anytime. I've never lost that passion for just going and finding new ASINs to sell against. Underserved listings is my favorite way to call it. But it sounds like you guys have a great plan to get yourself pretty freed up pretty soon, to where you're not even needing to work as the amount of hours you are to continue scaling your business. That's true.
Yeah, I know Kerry's doing, say, 20, 25, maybe sometimes 30 hours a week. And I just knew that it's not sustainable. So that's when with the second VA, we're trying to say, hey, if we can get them to do more and use like the technology. So we've kind of, REPLEN dashboard, we've just jumped on, and a few other things to kind of help us with buying and the sourcing. So that's kind of like the main thing. And probably like what our next process is setting up more systems to again go, hey, there's a standard operating procedures for people to follow and for us to kind of follow ourselves to really kind of make it more efficient and kind of be able to do more with the same amount of time.
Yeah. So, you guys, part of it you've done from day one. You've never had to prepare a shipment. You guys have used a prep center from day one.
Yeah.
Thankfully,
you have a good relationship. You have a good relationship with them. How's that going? And
really good.
Yeah.
So we started with one, and they were great. But we have moved to a tax-free state now, which just makes it a bit easier because we, obviously have to do our tax over here. Just one less thing that we need to worry about.
Yeah.
So, but they've been great. We get our shipments now go out weekly. We get an assigned day, and they go out, on that day. Communication is always great. It works out well that I get up early because, if they've got any communication, I can still get onto it before the shipment goes out and everything. So, they've been really good.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we're proud of that network of prep centers that have organically popped out, most of which started in this community from a student of our courses. They just recognized the need. There's still a huge need. Actually, one of the courses that we have coming out in 2023 is going to teach some of our US-based students how to set up a prep center, because we have so many international students like you guys that need a prep center. And that's just become an emerging need as this opportunity continues to grow. But glad that was pretty seamless for you. The website there is Prep Center Network. I'm imagining that's where you guys went to find a prep center. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we went through the community through that list, and we're able to kind of have their initial one and then our secondary one as well through that. And it's like Kerry does a lot of the contact, and it's just been like, it's necessary for us, but it's been quite good in terms of the turnaround time for us to get product into Amazon is pretty good.
That's great. And what's your fees approximately per unit? How do they charge you for that? Just to give people an idea what kind of expense that adds.
So ours is $1.75
per unit.
Per unit, and then shoes bundles $2.25.
Yeah, very good. Easily explained. So you just factor that in when you're looking for replens. That's part of your expense.
Yep.
Very good. How many replens do you guys have at this point?
Active, we've got just under 200.
Nice.
So
that's about what I would suspect for 20,000 or so a month, especially if you're doing some sales where some of those are kind of coming and going.
Yeah,
I think the biggest turning point for us was starting to get into shoes. So I was a bit hesitant because of the price point, but that's really bumped up our sales in the last couple of months, especially.
Nice.
The shoes.
How are you handling the returns on shoes? That's about a 5% return category.
Well, that's what I'm noticing as well. I am definitely noticing more returns with shoes, but
where are those going? Where do you send them? As an international student, I'm not sure I know where those go.
You had the podcast with the gentleman from the prep center that had solved the solution. So we've it's been our first month working with them where we
because I was going to suggest that if you weren't doing it yet.
No, so that's what we just signed up in the last month and had our first sale on eBay yesterday.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love it. You guys are like one step ahead. Okay, so for those who didn't follow the last minute or so of our conversation, we had a guest on our podcast. I can't remember their name right now. That's terrible. Do you happen to remember? I can't.
It's Axiom Prep is the company.
Axiom, right. Yeah. But if you go to silentjimdotcom/returns, I'm pretty sure that's the link. It'll be in the show notes if that's not it. It takes you right to their service where instead of having returns come to you, like you guys are in Australia, you don't want a box of shoes being returned from an Amazon buyer and shipped all the way to Australia. I don't think Amazon would even do that. Like, no, they're not going to do that. They're going to ship it to whatever address is on your account in the US. And that could be something that won't receive returns. Where do you send them? So you can set it up and send it to these guys. They'll sell it on eBay and split the profits with you and move your extra inventory, your return inventory that way. That's great. I'm so glad you guys got hooked up with them. Yeah, they've got quite a client list already ramping up. And that's another service where I can see in the future, we're not going to need just one company that does that. We're going to need 5, 10, 50 of those at some point as this opportunity continues to expand. Well, that's tremendous. I think we're covering a lot of really good ground here today, guys. What else? Any questions for me about your business or any more of the story that you'd like to share? You, without you guys realizing it, you're inspiring a lot of people right now. Like, this can be done. You can fit it into your life. Yeah, there's some work here, but there's tools and resources available to help you do it. So thank you guys. Great job so far.
Thank you.
Thank you. Probably a couple of the things that we're looking at now is just to potentially go into wholesale to help us be a bit more sustainable and maybe be able to purchase more, and then bundles as well. That's probably like our next step. Is that kind of where you think would make sense for us?
Absolutely. Along with a couple of the things that are coming down the road that might catch your interest, 2023 is going to be just jam-packed full of great little add-on ideas, such as, I'll give you just a sneak peek of one, print on demand. I don't talk a whole lot about private label strategies for new sellers, but we've been working on a process that we've now proven out and have a bunch of students that are creating fairly simple print on demand products. And you get just a few of them and you send them in and you test. And if it works, hey, you've got your own great product now. You buy a few more at a time. It's a print on demand, put a quote or a saying, create your own products on items. We're really ramping that up. So that's one thing you might want to look into eventually. But wholesale, absolutely. Yes. You can get into the provenwholesalesourcing.com class. It's one of the modules inside the Proven Amazon course. Rich Potter taught that class. There's no reason you can't do it from Australia. It's just another creative way to get it to find new replens that you otherwise might not be able to discover. It's a beautiful system. You guys will be able to navigate that and figure it out. That would be a great next step. As would be the bundles, the branded bundles. That's another module in the provenbrandbuilding.com module. It's in the Proven Amazon course again. Your coaches are going to be familiar with all of this and they can kind of point you in the right directions, but absolutely worth experimenting there as well. That's a little more complex of a startup, not much, but because you're going to get a trademark, you're going to get brand registered, you're going to create a legitimate brand and put it on a box and put stuff in it. So you'll need to work with a prep center that can help you build these bundles, which some prep centers do, some don't. Probably may even be a second prep center that you work with for that part of your business. But I would probably start with wholesale based on where you guys are now. Start playing around with that as a next step. Just suggest that that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit. But knowing some of these other opportunities are coming your way, the print on demand thing, I think is going to be right up your guys' alley. And I really think Kerry's very capable with the connections you have and your knowledge base at some point. Now, if you're new, it's extremely complicated to get into Amazon health and nutrition categories. But you've got an advantage. You know how the platform works. You know the industry. You know what's good, what works, what doesn't. You've got some connections, some influencers maybe in Australia that have great products that are popular there that haven't made it to the US, perhaps. There's going to be an opportunity like that in the mix somewhere that I think would make sense for you guys to start playing around. And you could work with our Hummingbird team to help make some of that stuff happen. We've solved some pretty complex logistical challenge issues and the trademark issues and that kind of thing that, the importing and FDA, even all that stuff, the Food and Drug Administration in the US, what products can we ship over here? We can help with those kinds of things. So everything from the basic levels, you guys are, and I don't want to say it's a basic business. You guys are putting in a lot of work, but what you've built now is a nice foundation that you can really do a lot of fun things and diversify your business in a lot of different directions. But I do think the next step is wholesale, though, to be specific for you guys. But just kind of dreaming into the future, the next year.
Absolutely.
And what are the odds of you guys making it to the US for a conference?
Not this June.
Not quite this year.
Robin mentioned it.
That's a big ask.
Have a perk to kind of get over there like next year or the year after with the kids. They've got their first flight in a month. So we'll see how that one goes first.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the first time on an airplane for the whole crew coming up. Huh? That's great. I'll have fun with that. Yeah. We've done that many times. We've gotten those crazy looks. We had 5 kids. Our oldest would have been 10. So 5 kids, 10 and under, getting on an airplane, carrying everything you got to carry to go strollers and car seats. And we're the last ones on the airplane. And everyone has to make a space for us and adjust their seats. We were that family a couple times. So, have fun with that. I hope it goes great for you. Wow. So any other questions for me or anything else you guys want to share? It's been great getting to know you.
Not so much. Well,
probably the other thing that we didn't mention is we actually had a conversation with Matt about jumping on board as coaches. So that happened.
Here you are, one step ahead of me again already.
So Brian and Robin really put us forward for that, which was a huge compliment for us. So that was So we've just in the startup stages of getting all of that happening, which is very exciting. So yeah.
It is. And, it's like with our Canadian friends, our UK friends, our Australian friends, we can't hit every country, but there's a lot of countries where you'd think we'd have a coach there, a coach or two, and we've figured it out in most places. But in Australia, we still really don't have that go-to, hey, yeah, here's someone who's on your same time zone. You don't have to get up at 6 in the morning to have a coaching session, right? That would be so nice. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. From what I'm learning about you guys today, that would be an incredible welcome addition to the team. And if you've got Brian and Robin talking to you about it already, you're well on your way. And Matt, of course, on our team, he does the vetting for the new coaches, and that would be great. Sounds like we might have another phone call real soon, kind of getting you guys on board and talking through some of that. Yeah, because I was just sitting here getting to know you guys, thinking that exact thought, and that hadn't come across my radar yet at all. But I was thinking the same thing, that you guys are on that path towards being some great coaches on the team, I think.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you've figured out how to navigate these moving parts, and it hasn't disrupted your lives. You've fit it into your life. It's been some work. You're very realistic about the work involved. You didn't just like stumble into one good ASIN and have a great month. You found a lot of products. And you guys are on a path towards teaching us all some new things we didn't know before. I can see it coming down the pike for sure, creating content and that sort of thing for sure. So yeah, I can't wait. That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you have plans to make this your full-time gig now, Kerry? Like, are you going to kind of drift away from the nutrition thing and this is your thing, or where are you at?
Yeah, this is definitely my thing. So at the moment, so 3 days a week. And then on the other days, I probably still do 2 hours. Yeah, that when I've got the kids, 2-3 hours probably. So it's definitely takes up the majority of my time. So Beau's at the back end, just running all the systems and everything, trying to make it as easy for me as possible. And I think implementing the VAs when we have, and the second VA, and then getting them on board for, even we're looking at, allowing them to do some of the purchasing and those kind of things, just entrusting more in other people as well. So, which has been great.
That's fantastic. I'm excited to have you guys help us navigate maybe some of those challenges that we run into with international students. We can use all the international help we can get. We've got dozens of successful international students, but only a few have stepped into leadership roles. So we're always so excited to see that happen and help us navigate and creatively find some of those solutions. Like some of those websites you mentioned earlier, Kerry, that just won't accept your order because you're in Australia. There's got to be a workaround. Right. So figuring those things out over time and benefiting the whole community. I'm super excited to navigate that with the two of you and with the rest of our international team. I'm excited. And, and this is about as late at night as I ever do these things. And I'm sitting here excited. I'm going to have a hard time turning my brain off now. Just you guys, welcoming you guys in as potential leaders and this great story. I can't wait to get this episode out there. It's really going to help a lot of people. Well, what else is on your list, if anything? Did you have any questions for me? Anything that we could make good use of the time? Maybe a snag or two that you're hitting, or a challenge you're trying to overcome? I could help you brainstorm. Anything like that, or have we hit everything on your list?
Probably. Like, what would be your advice for sourcing more sustainable? Have you got any words of wisdom or any categories that are more sustainable?
Sure. Well, off the top of my head, I'm assuming you guys really do have some. I mean, all of our coaches are simply incredible. So time spent diving into what you're already sourcing and then branching off of that is always time well spent. And then I like to say go relational as soon as you can. And what I mean by that is any chance you have, like our best sources of replens at this point are based on a relationship, a conversation I had. Like you get some. You find out who owns the database of products, and you get in and you make it mutually beneficial to work with them, rather than buying as a stranger on websites where you don't really know anyone. You start to find some relationships, and that's where wholesale will start to take you in that direction. Because you'll be talking to some of these companies, and they may even say, "Oh, we've got plenty of Amazon sellers." Like, well, we're different. Here's where you might want to consider us anyway. Build that relationship, have that conversation. We're in Australia, and I would encourage you guys to be saying, whether it takes a year, 2 or 4 years to get there, be saying things like, we want to sell on Amazon Australia eventually. It's not there yet, but you guys will be positioned so well as that marketplace picks up speed. And the things I've noticed, like Amazon and Singapore, for example, the sellers who did well from Singapore on Amazon US and then said, hey, I'd love to sell here, but here's why I can't. Here's the challenges they have. Amazon really listens to them. To connect the dots on what I just said, if you find some US-based wholesalers and you say, hey, we're actually in Australia, we're going to watch and be a part of and have a front row seat for Amazon Australia taking off. We want to be your connection. For now, we're in the US. But what do you think about getting some of your products into the Australia Amazon market as that takes off? We could help you navigate that. We're still in the early stages ourselves, but you see how that kind of, it's a unique angle. I couldn't have that conversation. Very few in our community could with a US-based wholesaler. But those relationships are almost that unfair advantage that you start to get versus a technique or a tool or a strategy. The next big leap forward in your business is always using your mouth, building relationships. So that, especially as you guys as emerging leaders, I can see you on stage 2024, right? Like you guys on stage, hey, international, here's how you do it. I'm already imagining it. Let's say May, June 2024, something like that. See you guys in I know where we're going to be. I know the state. I don't know the city yet. I probably shouldn't leak that yet, but that's where we're heading with this. So just be bold, confident, use your voice, talk to these wholesalers and see where that takes you. And that initial no, like, oh no, we don't need any more sellers. Let's talk because we've got some things we could try here that maybe some others couldn't do. With the Australia presence. Does that make sense? So leverage that opposition, that initial resistance that you felt like, oh, we're all the way over here in Australia and everything else happening in the US. Well, that's an opportunity for you guys. So leverage that.
Thank you.
That would be my advice. And I've seen that kind of thing play out so many times where just a conversation with the right person at the right time and make it a Zoom like we're doing right now. Don't settle for email. Say, hey, would you jump on a Zoom? I'd love to meet us, to hear our hearts. We love your catalog. We love your products. We think there's potential here. And it starts off as something simple, but it can turn into so much more. And even representing brands on Amazon is a huge opportunity. You mentioned earlier, Kerry, you're comfortable having conversations with, doctors and medical professionals and people who diagnose. And like that's a skill set that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people, they refuse. They don't want to have conversations. They're in e-commerce because they want to only send emails. Well, if you can jump on a Zoom and have a conversation and say, hey, you know what? Maybe you're not taking any new Amazon sellers right now, brand X. But how about this? How about if you take over your own brand? This is the proven product partnering strategy now. Some people are having tremendous success. Hey, Mr. Brand Owner, I'm going to help you manage your own brand presence on Amazon. You don't have to worry about all the resellers anymore, myself included. Let's set your account up under your name, get you brand registered, get your products listed, professional looking, great listings. And you just send me a percentage. And you pay me a little bit per month to manage it and a percentage of what Amazon pays you. What do you think? It's a pretty straightforward sales pitch. And it's one of the modules in the Proven Amazon course. And I'm kind of firing at you guys from a fire hose, but I know you can handle it. You'll chip away at it one little piece at a time. But I can just see the two of you having a very strong, very appealing message for brands that would love. Maybe it's an Australian-based brand. You can help them get on the US-based Amazon.
I love it.
We could help you guys make that happen. So while you're chipping away, turning that 200 replens into 500, and you got your 60,000, 70,000 a month business humming, running, rocking, start thinking about some of these other things too along the way. And there's a relational component to all of them.
I will do. Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully that gives you guys some ideas to chew on.
Absolutely.
Very good. Well, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you guys, and I appreciate you carving out some time. It was a bit of a challenge to get our calendars lined up, and then we had a glitch, but it all worked out in the end. So,
We got there.
anything else on your mind before we wrap this one up, guys?
Not for me.
Not too much, but I just want to say thank you because
Absolutely.
with Robin and Brian, and then all the different coaching sessions in the pack. Like it has kind of, that's been the stuff that we've just dug into when we've needed to. So that's been great. And thank you for having us on today as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Excited to be working with you guys. And I just have a feeling, I get this feeling sometimes when I interview folks on this show, like you're going to be teaching us all some things here before long. I just know it's coming. So super excited. Beau and Kerry, you guys were such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a moment, those who hung out with us today. If you can't tell, I really love my job, especially on days like today when I get to hang out with great people like this who are making things happen. They've adjusted their life. They've changed. Their families changed. They've added a baby, and they've figured out how to meet their financial goals using the internet creatively, and emerging leaders in our community. I am just humbled and honored to have spent some time with these guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did. I think you probably did. We'd love to get your feedback. If you did, leave a comment, subscribe on iTunes if you're not subscribed yet so you don't miss an episode. Something I don't point out very often is if you go to silentjim.com/updates, one word, silentjim.com/updates, you can get an alert on your smartphone every time we have a new episode. And so that way you don't ever miss any of our great new episodes. That's a good little tip to end on. But hey, one last time, you guys are awesome. Thank you, Beau and Kerry.
Thank you.
Thank you so
You
much.
guys. And on behalf of the whole team that helps make this show possible, all our great sponsors, God bless all the business building warriors out there. We'll have another great episode for you very soon. We'll talk to you then.